Hello, everybody. Apologies for being late. We were on the wrong side of the wall here, so I was trying to figure out why the doors were locked, but I'm... That's okay. But I'm Evan Levine. I'm Chief Executive Officer of PsyBio Therapeutics, and thank you very much for joining me today. I very much appreciate it. So PsyBio, we're a biotechnology company developing psychedelic drugs. We didn't just take the words psy for psychedelic and bio for biotechnology and put it together. The name was actually really well thought out. It's a portmanteau for psycho-targeted biosynthetic therapeutics. And that's our foundational platform technology. We grow psychedelic drugs of bacteria. We're doing this we're a pure play biotechnology company, and we're working in the area of mental health and other neurological disorders. And I apologize, I'm going to rush a little bit this because I do want to save time for Q&A. I will be making some forward-looking statements in this presentation, so please refer to our safe harbor statement. So, PsyBio Therapeutics. We are a fully integrated life sciences company. We do almost everything in-house from A to Z. We do two things. We do discovery and development of psychedelic drugs. Now, our lead compound is biosynthetic psilocybin, and we're one of the few groups out there that are developing this, but we have a full portfolio of about 100 targets that we developed, and we have fully synthesized 12 of them. We have an incredible team here, highly experienced. Our team has run thousands of clinical trials. We have expertise in metabolic engineering, biosynthetic chemistry, medicinal chemistry, and clinical pharmacology. So we really assembled a world-class group to put this company together. And we're doing this accepted, credible, time-tested methodology here. So we are growing these drugs in bacteria. We did not invent this, but our platform technology is a research first to do this with a psychedelic drug. So the company is based in Oxford, Ohio. That's where most of the team is working, and that's where our operations are. We have full translational capabilities there. As I said, we have 3 laboratories. We do almost everything internally from A to Z. The only thing we're not doing internally right now is scale manufacturing, but we're using 3 different manufacturers outside to, and we've already taken 2 drugs from the bench to commercial manufacturing. So we're working in mental health. Now, I'm not going to go through the statistics of this, but we all understand mental health is a major problem, in the world. Neurological health, major problem. Now, what's interesting to me about this is that I cut my teeth in oncology, running clinical trials in oncology. Oncology is, everybody uses the words unmet needs for developing. Every single biotechnology company, we use the same because these are unmet needs, but with oncology, it's very different. That oncology, you're dealing with end of life. With mental health and neurological challenges, it takes an enormous economic toll on society. Trillions of dollars a year are lost in productivity because of these problems. And psychiatric care in the United States is really limited. If you take total population, we actually have pretty good insurance coverage here. It's about 91%. But take it down, individuals receiving 66%, therapists, there aren't enough therapists out there. And the problem here, does anybody really want to go through psychedelic therapy? It's a very intense process. And if you did, it's going to be very costly. So we are building the portfolio of these biosynthetics. Now, there's nothing new about this. I mean, this is my favorite slide because these drugs have been consumed for thousands of years. There's evidence of early man because of cave paintings holding what we believe to be magic mushrooms. They're mentioned in the Bible. Native Americans use this. Francis Crick claims to have discovered the double helix on LSD. And Albert Hofmann was able to synthesize LSD and psilocybin. And back in the 50s, 60s, thousands and thousands of patients were treated in clinical trials for indications that we're still discussing today. Anxiety, depression, PTSD, substance abuse. But these drugs got into the recreational market, got turned off by the Nixon administration in 1970 under the Controlled Substances Act, and research didn't disappear, but it pretty much went underground for about 30 years. Up until Johns Hopkins got approved in 2000, they were the first to actually be allowed to put psychedelics into human beings again. They got approved by the FDA for study. You fast forward, now we've got this incredible emerging industry where there's a lot of great companies studying these psychedelics for these help. Now, I don't particularly think that psilocybin is remarkable. I think it exists just because it exists, and it's not there to teach us, but it does. It's not there to heal. It's there to protect the plant, and that's common. So these organisms, they grow it to protect themselves. Spiritual healers discovered this. Now, they didn't know if they're healing anything. They just know that when you consume this, you get an immediate reaction, and we're now benefiting from one of the most understood products, on the planet now. So we are using a biosynthetic process. And my competition for psilocybin, there's two large groups out there studying as well, is the chemical synthetic. The challenge with the chemical synthetic, it is very difficult to make, it's very expensive, it has many production steps and purification steps, and there's barely any intellectual property on it. So ironically, it's not even approved yet. We don't expect it to be approved for another few years, and it's already in litigation because the patent, but to make this chemical synthetic, you've got to go through 7 different steps. You start off with starting materials, you get a crude intermediate, you've got to purify it, you've got to purify it 5 different times before you get that final product. So this is what Dr. Albert Hofmann did, and as you can see, it is very, very difficult. You need to do process development on each step, you need to scale at each step, and you need to purify each step. And the published literature suggests that it's about $2,000 a gram, but if you can even get it, it sells on the market for research purposes between $7,000 and $7,000 and $20,000 per gram. We could make this for pennies on the dollar using bacteria. It's a one-step autocatalytic process. We have starting materials, we use a bioreactor, it's genetically modified bacteria, and about 2.5 days we get extracellular psilocybin and some of the other drug targets that we're going after. And we have a very rich patent portfolio. I've got 16 patents pending on this right now, and we can make any production quantity. We've already announced that we've commercially scaled to 300 liters. And this is what it looks like. We start off with the initial discovery. We start off with 4-hydroxyindole, genetically modified bacteria using 3 of the genes in Psilocybe cubensis, and we get extracellular psilocybin, and this one purification step after that. Since the company was founded, we have really built up a very, very rich platform technology. So we've discovered that we can use the same genes, change our starting materials. We use 4-hydroxyindole, go to 5-hydroxyindole. We can use glucose, and we get different products on the other end. And we've now synthesized 12 different target molecules. As I said, 2 of them have already gone into commercial manufacturing. So why are we doing this? It's a biotechnology company. We're intended to commercialize this. Now, I get asked all the time, because we have a lot of manufacturing patents, do we intend to be a supplier? No, we are developing this drug to get it approved on a prescription-based model, and there is no market for this. Psilocybin is a Schedule I drug. It's illicit, and the only way you're allowed to put it in any animals, people, anything is with permission from DEA and the FDA. We've already had our first FDA meeting. So this year, we're going to be filing our IND for biosynthetic psilocybin. We're going to clinical trials this year. We're doing a full commercial study, randomized, controlled, blinded study, and looking for an efficacious outcome. Our second target is already in animal testing, and we plan on filing an IND on that next year. So we met with the FDA late last year. We had a Type C meeting, a pre-IND meeting, and what did we learn? We got all the answers we needed. That's why we've got very confident on a go-ahead here. We asked if they would accept the literature, all the published literature. There's tons of peer-reviewed literature on psilocybin. Incidentally, psilocybin is psilocybin. Whether you get it out of a mushroom and extract it, whether you chemically synthesize it, as I shared, or whether we biosynthesize it. Once it goes into the body, it's psilocybin, it converts into psilocin and binds receptors, and that's why you get this, what we believe is therapeutic response, but definitely a mystical experience. And we also asked the FDA, we put down 10 indications. Compass Pathways they met their primary endpoint on a phase 2B on chemical synthetic psilocybin. So we are not going to aggressively alter anything. We are going to go into a category of depression, which we haven't announced yet because we're highly confident for this efficacious outcome, but we got thumbs up on the 10 indications that we share with the FDA. We also found out, from that meeting that we are in CEDAR, not CBER. So you could check all the boxes here that we've accomplished now. Next event for us is a Type B meeting. I'm expecting to have that in short order. We'll file our IND this year, and we will it will go into these randomized clinical trials. We've already started site selection. So, beyond psilocybin. So this is where I think the real excitement is for the company. We've developed a portfolio about 100 molecules now. We've synthesized 12 of them. At our facilities in Oxford, Ohio, we have 3 laboratories. We have a laboratory that was founded around the company. There's about 50 people working in it. It's all under a sponsored research agreement, so we're very, very lean. But they've got, they do discovery there, and we do the development after that. But we also have another laboratory. We have our own animal facility at Oxford, Ohio, where on a daily basis, we are testing our target products, comparing them to psilocybin, comparing them to Prozac, and looking for an efficacious outcome. And what we've discovered, our next generation compound is showing equivalent anti-anxiolytic and antidepressive activity as psilocybin in rodent models, and we go through a whole series of experiments we do, not just head twitch, which is what we believe is offering the animal a hallucinogenic response, but we do sucrose preference testing, social avoidance testing, elevated maze testing. We have a rat casino for studying gambling addiction, and this next compound looks to be equivalent as psilocybin as far as a therapeutic response. However, it does not elicit that mystical experience, and that's where we think the real market is going to be. As honestly, hallucinations and going through that kind of aggressive therapy, we believe biosynthetic psilocybin for that matter, is going to be a very significant large market. But we want something next generation that can be taken far more often, that will not put you in an inconvenient therapeutic response and offer that same type of therapeutic outcome. Now, a couple of graphs. We don't share a lot of data because we continue to file IP on this, but what we discovered, and the reason we now know about the therapeutic response and the hallucination is because we took our second product and we cut the dose of psilocybin down by 50%, added the other 50% to this other product, and we saw this enhanced effect, this innate synergy. Some people talk about an entourage effect, a mushroom, and they talk about that in cannabis as well. This is what we were looking for, and we actually affirmed it in our rodent models. Further, we did the testing I just described, and we discovered that the second compound on its own, without adding psilocybin, has these equivalent anti-anxiolytic and antidepressive activities. Again, that's our next generation. That will be coming next year as we build it out. That's really where the excitement is. And how do we know what we're hitting? This is one thing that we don't do internally, the receptor studies, but we know that we're not hitting certain receptors that we don't want to hit, and we are hitting others, and that's where the IP is coming into play here. So we want a drug that's going to be available for everybody, safe, effective, and approved. Now, we've been building out this portfolio for 2.5 years now. We have 16 patents pending. We converted our first 2 provisionals into a non-provisional recently, and you will continue to see more IP coming because we generate this IP on a regular basis. To finances, we went public about 1.25 years ago. We set out to do a $5 million round and go public on the Toronto Venture Exchange. We got orders for $17.5 million on this round. It was led by OrbiMed Advisors, LifeSci Ventures, and Noetic Capital. So it was really successful when we came out. We took that money. We've taken 2 molecules from the bench into commercial manufacturing. We've had our first FDA meeting, so we really spent that money well, and we created a lot of internal value on this. And how do we do this? This is a few of our people. We just have great team here. I'm CEO. I've been working in life sciences in different areas for most of my career. Started off in capital markets. I worked in healthcare investment banking. I ran a biotechnology, a private equity portfolio, and I ran a public biotechnology company as well. My experience pales in comparison to Dr. Mike Spigarelli. Thank you. He's run thousands upon thousands of studies, and he's leading our whole development effort here. Noah Davis is our CFO. Noah has been working with me for 6 or 7 years now on a lot of different projects, so he runs finances and marketing. Ross Carmel is our chief legal officer, does all our legal work, and sits on the board of directors. Nitin Kotchal sits on our board of directors. He's on multiple NASDAQ boards. He's our head of our audit committee and finance expert. And Bob Oliver. Bob was the former chief executive officer of Otsuka North America, and the parent company is at somewhere around $30 billion valuation. So we're very, very lucky to have Bob. He ran a $6 billion annual book on Abilify. So investment highlights. We have this platform technology. We have the rights in perpetuity, the global exclusive rights to this with our collaboration with the inventors at Miami University. We have an enormous intellectual property portfolio that's building, multiple shots on goal, highly experienced team, and we're going into clinical trials this year. And we have a protected cost advantage 2 ways. Biosynthetic psilocybin, I can make this for pennies on the dollar compared to the chemical synthetic or extraction. And because we do all of this internally, we're not going to be relying on CROs to do our studies. We could do this with our internal team. So, thank you. I have time for questions, right? Okay.
Yes, can you, in layman's terms, describe the action of psilocybin on the brain? And secondly, which currently approved drugs might yours displace?
So we believe that this works by hitting 5-HT2A receptor. There's a lot that's still not known about this. We really don't know why you're getting this therapeutic response. It's incontrovertible that thousands of patients have undergone this. And being in this business, I've had so many anecdotal stories. I've had people tell me that their autism has been cured, that every problem under the sun. So psilocybin is it's being viewed as a panacea for everything. Do I believe it is? I would like to hope that it is. But we don't really know why it's doing this.
And the drugs currently on the market, what?
Now, I mean, I'm not going to make such a bold statement that we're going to replace all these drugs on the market, but we're targeting general antidepressants like Prozac, Lexapro, those type of things. Will I replace them? No. This will not replace them because this needs to be delivered in a therapeutic setting. And you're surrendering your consciousness, so it's not a drug like Prozac that you would take on a regular basis.
Yes, you mentioned the complex pathway. So do you see your drug being superior to theirs with address the same indications, which as far as I know is MDD or TRD for complex?
No, so they had a successful, they met the primary endpoint in phase 2B. So, but they have a chemical synthetic psilocybin. It's just very expensive to make. They've done a lot of work for us. We plan to be approved at the same time they do, but it's not a superior drug that I have. It's a superior manufacturing process that's protected where I could just make this in 2 days instead of 15 days, and it's much more efficient. It's just a lot less expensive. But psilocybin in the mushroom is the chemical synthetic, is the biosynthetic. Psilocybin is psilocybin. Well, thank you. In the COMPASS study, there was an increase in suicidation on the study arm. I think that's why their stock went down a bit. But that is the only one I'm familiar with. But you know, there's different ways to look at that data, and I think you could actually make an argument that there was a therapeutic response because of that. But our next generation is not expected to have to go this aggressive therapy and will be taken on a regular basis. Why
did you go public on Toronto?
Well, back in, April 2020, there were no psychedelic companies. I presented at a psychedelic/cannabis conference virtually because we were in the middle of COVID, and we got contacted afterwards by myriad groups of investors up in Canada. Canada Canada kind of leads in this type of product. They led with cannabis, and we just had a lot of interest up there. They offered capital, so we decided to move forward. Okay. All right, thank you. I appreciate everybody. Bye. And I'm around if anybody would like to have further discussion.